so you've got, you know, all of these American girls at least dreaming of this Pinteresty perfect wedding day, and as a whole, young people are not being taught to just cherish the person that they're coming into covenant with. And so you end up with all these false expectations and honor. Who cares about honor? Like, nobody's even mentioned the word honor. It's about bouquets and favors, and
I mean, even dishonor becomes a focal point of many weddings.
You're right.
Bachelorette parties. I mean, we truly focus on something that truly deserves honor and love.
And dishonor
and yet we spend all of our time planning some party in which we can dishonor the person, and we don't. Most people don't do it with this thought of, man, I can't wait to dishonor them. But that's what you're doing.
It's your last hurrah.
Right.
Before you're, tied down to the old ball and chain.
Right.
Yeah. Isn't it wild? I love that you brought that up. Like, it's serving the opposite purpose of what a wedding is and what a marriage is. A lot of the wedding traditions that people embrace, that, you're starting your marriage off with like a party where you're having a stripper, like, talk about
Doesn't make much sense.
And it's just something we've been taught is normal. But again, things are being set into motion from the very beginning, that and they can be reclaimed. I feel like the Holy Spirit's reminding me of that right now, because I feel like some of the people watching this may be like, well, geez, like, we are so far from any kind of honor. It can be reclaimed.
Absolutely.
God, and maybe you never had it in the first place, so maybe it can just be deposited and put into your life. Like, even if you didn't have parents to look at and learn honor, and even if it's been a hellish journey so far in your marriage, I just really feel like the Lord wants somebody to hear that He can start something new, that
especially
He redeems.
And I specifically think about men in that regard. I have a heart for the idea that, even I was introduced to pornography at a young age. I mean, we're talking elementary, middle school. And yet you get into this culture of, it's very hard to break. So I truly empathize with men who struggle with that. I mean, I don't feel like a lot of men want that. I feel like that's just where they are. And so I do think that there is victory from that. There is freedom from that. But there has to be effort that's put into gaining that freedom. And it's not to say that I can say that I still have moments, especially on the road, where you're having to truly. I mean, I walked into one of the hotel rooms, and the first sign on the table was Masters of Sex. It was an HBO TV show, and that's what they put right there on the TV.
Wow.
So I mean, it truly is a culture that knows what drives. I mean, knows what's going to drive sales, and so there is. I love that you brought up that honor can be regained, because I know that for myself, I found myself in such a state of I really, really hate. I found myself ugly, and not from a physical sense, but from a spiritual sense of how can I continue to do that, and it is a process. It's not something that you can gain overnight, but it is truly there is freedom.
God is a redeemer and a restorer, and His heart is for your marriage, and it doesn't matter what mistakes have been made or what infidelity or what lines have been crossed. Like, He redeems, and He can establish honor, even if that's never been present.
Now, you asked the question earlier about if you didn't grow up, if you weren't blessed like I was to have a father that represented honor, and what would you tell other men? And what I would say to other men is, I mean, you can totally be redeemed. I mean, don't think what you've done, you can't start over and really start to honor women or your girlfriend or your spouse or whoever you're in relationship with. I would say find at least a man that you have already seen that exhibit, and go ahead and find almost like not like a mentor, but try to just observe and try to understand and ask questions and get him to
get
understand.
in the presence of a person like that.
Right, and try to use the experiences that person has. Maybe it's not your actual father, but maybe it's just an older, wiser man. Because I tell you what, we have a lot of great men, older men at our church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
who are really walking the walk. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a facade.
Mike Henderson and Ronnie Kelly.
Yeah, they both
men-
came to my mind.
Those
Yeah.
two men, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I could go talk to them and tell them stuff, and
Yeah.
I feel like they, you know, I see them honoring in their spouse. Like, I mean, so like, go try to find men that can pour into
Rub
you.
off on you.
And the second thing is like, you know, Allan and I've been talking about too, is just find even somebody that can bring some accountability to you. That's a great start, is to find some accountability, because you're not going to find that.
I love getting texts from Andrew and Rich Dunn. I mean, I get texts from them when I'm on the road, and you know, just encouragement and having someone that can really get in your face about it.
And it also helps a lot to find other couples who are trying to walk the same walk as you. I mean, it means the world to Allan and I that we have multiple friends, married coupled friends, just like Hayley and Andrew, who want to honor each other and who want to have a healthy, happy marriage. And just being around those types of couples,
it spurs you on.
It spurs you to be even more thoughtful and honoring, and
to have friends like that you can trust your spouse around.
Yes,
I mean,
that's huge.
I think about it too, like, you know, the one time that the devil wanted to attack Jesus and truly attack him, he takes him into the desert to take him by himself. So oftentimes we get into phases where we feel like we're not living up to what we should, so we shrink back. We got to draw in each other.
We need each other. I think that's an excellent point. Like, if you're gonna try to go at this alone,
and that being said too, I think sometimes, you know, other couples can bring you down, and so like if you spend too much time with another couple who
These two, I mean,
are you trying to say that about me?
It's like an
are y'all
anchor.
trying to give us
if you're constantly dishonoring
Whoa.
each other, number one, it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But number two, you know,
Comfortable.
it's kind of rub off. So, you know, trying to distance yourselves from that.
I think,
not that you don't want to be a good example for them,
but what you're saying, I think it's like there are people who belong in your inner circle,
right,
that can have fuller access to your heart and your marriage and your relationships, and there are people outside of that who you can minister to and hopefully be an example to and speak into, but they don't get access to your heart in the same way.
Disciples with Jesus.
Yeah, you want somebody.
I
you're
mean, that's
you're
New
either
Testament.
getting life or you're giving life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way you look at it. That's the way I've always looked
Hopefully
at it.
there's some life to be gained in every relationship, whether you're giving it or you're receiving it.
It's all a baton race. Who are you receiving the baton to? Who are you giving it to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, why don't we honor our husbands with
go
make some cookies for dessert.
Because I am starving.
And on that, everybody said,
Amen.
Amen.